Okay, while we're getting started, just going to take a quick poll. How many of you have been really stressed late at night in the library? And how many of you have not gone somewhere in South Bend or on campus because it's been sleeting, raining, snowing, or polar vortexing? Yeah. And how many of you have used the the meditation resources room in the St. Leon's?
Okay, one.
Okay, awesome. Well, you have just set our group up right here. We are Team One-Derful. I'm Caroline Kuse.
I'm Sarah Miller.
I'm Johnny Wichard.
I'm Annie O'Brien.
And I'm Maria Skorcz.
All right, and we're going to talk a little bit about our solution to this.
Okay, so just to get us started, Caroline's already done a pretty good job at framing where we're coming from. But we want to address the problem specifically that Notre Dame students are extremely stressed, primarily right before exams. Our solution that we're going to come up with, as you'll see, is a convenient physical location for students to relax at any time of the year. It doesn't even have to be during exams. So we got a little video for you guys right here.
Okay, class, now don't forget, we have our final exam on Friday. It counts for 60% of your final grade. And if you don't pass, well, it's okay to be a fifth-year senior. Excuse me, Professor, are we going to have a class review session or somewhere we can study together? That's on you guys.
Do we give a study guide?
What? Of course not. I don't have time to be explicit with you and tell you exactly what you need to know for a test. Studying the beautiful library for me for the next 3 days. Okay, class, don't forget.
So as you guys can probably empathize with, sometimes our exams seem unfair and then we end up going into the library and studying for hours at a time and just wondering that what we're actually reading is going to be relevant for the exam we're about to take. So this is a really bleak scenario that we're hoping to alleviate some of the pressure. So while we were doing this, we decided let's empathize with the typical Notre Dame student, primarily around stress-heavy times like final exams, just to try to get a good feel. And what we came up with is that all of us feel stress. We've already established that from 2 other presentations today. But specifically also, what kind of questions do we ask ourselves? Like, how long should I study? What should I study? Is this a lost cause? When should I take a break? Should I study with a group or by myself? Or what kinds of resources do I have to alleviate stress? And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Caroline.
Yeah, so this is kind of our brief timeline. I don't really need to explain this since we're short on time and y'all went through the exact same process. But really, people get stressed about everything, whether it is academics, which is more pervasive, I would say, or among the Notre Dame student, whether it's, eating right or being healthy or, maybe it is relationships, as the previous group noted. But when we were looking around campus, we went to the library, we went to LaFun, we went to DBART, and the most miserable students were the ones who were studying. They have their headphones in, they're hunched, they're frowning, and really this is what we wanted to address. So just kind of some stuff that we overheard on campus. Didn't want to go outside because it's too cold. And then actually this student, the picture's a little dull, but she was studying hunched over in a room and main building and couldn't really focus because she felt very exposed. And so then she moved to a more open room to the window, trying to kind of condense her space, and this really made her feel more comfortable and less stressed out. So then we kind of went to the library, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, but it is yellow, it is stale, you feel bad when you go inside the library. And so even if you start out, you put your nice study bun in, as I always do, you get to work, but you end up feeling terrible by the time it's 8 hours in there and you hate it. You feel tired and defeated, as the student noted. But here's my sister. It is a problem even among freshmen, as my sister noted. She had 2 tests in one day, even from her very first year. It's too cold to leave her room of Howard, even to go to Como. And she just really wanted to be comfortable and have her music and her tissues, as she noted. And then to really relieve her stress, she just took a nap because she couldn't handle the rest of it anymore. So to ask some more specific questions about this, we asked about people's study locations, and overwhelmingly it was the library. There were some other locations on campus, DBART, Como, but everyone really studied in the library. Interestingly, everybody studied at different times of the day, and that's really a function of the Notre Dame student who does have school, but they also have group meetings to go to for this, and SIBC, and dorm things, and sports that they're in. And so the time of day really there was no specific time. Next, when we asked about these stresses from particularly academics, people like to take breaks from studying with food, or just relaxing. They feel so worn down, and they just want to kind of shut themselves off and regroup. When we asked people about how they would prefer to relieve stress, ideally they came up with some pretty interesting ideas. More time in the day was really a big one, but puppies and beaches and the Sun Lab's interesting, like the inner resources room, massages, and just being by themselves was also a huge idea. So with that, this leads into our next video here.
It's not.
Well, you look stressed.
Face looks stressed.
Face sucks. I hate the colors in this big room, and I hate Notre Dame. Why did it take us so long to realize the students are starting with the farm look? And why does my roommate kick me out 4 times a day to be with her boyfriend? And why is the weather so bad? We should go to St. Leo's and use that awesome sun lamp that they have. It kills my seasonal affective disorder. But that's like literally a 15-minute walk. We won't run out of time for that. I know. What if they put a relaxation room in the library?
So as these professional actors kind of show you the feedback that we got from our ethnographic interviews, we also took our research to social media and looked at Facebook and Twitter, and we found that students are not checking their stress when they enter social media websites, and in fact are sharing their stress with the world. With the world. This girl even shared her to-do list with the Facebook community. And so you can see people are tweeting about wanting to relax, wanting to have time to relax, wanting to find a place to relax. We also found that people are using social media as a stress relief. A lot of people are trying to multitask, kind of go on social media while they have their textbooks open right next to them. And we kind of found this as an ineffective mechanism for either stress relief or productivity. So we were trying to find a stress relief that would help relieve stress while taking them outside of their textbook environment. After getting our data from our students, we decided to create 4 personas. You can read the different personas up there, but we decided to focus on Topanga, the overachiever. Many of you may recognize her from the Boy Meets World show. We identified all of our personas with Boy Meets World characters. But Topanga has a high interest in stress relief and also a high perceived stress. So she's aware that she's under stress, but she wants to find somewhere that she can go to relieve this stress. The beauty of our proposed solution is that it could work for all of these personas should they decide to seek it out, but it is identified particularly to someone who recognizes their stress and would be willing to participate in stress relief. I also had the benefit of visiting the Inner Resources Room at St. Leo's and communicated with Dr. Wendy Settle, a staff psychologist in St. Leo's, and she spoke with me about the development of the current resource room at St. Leo's. She identified that a physical room is really important. While a lot of trends in stress management are trending towards apps and phones and things on virtual ways, we wanted to focus on a physical way, to take a break from the world of stress and the world of constant information. As you can see on the back of your appendix handout, she provided us with data on the usage of the current resource room, and we found that over 17% of people will use the sun lamp and the massage chair, and the closest tool after that was only 10% of users, so we really identified those as the 2 things that we wanted to include in our beach library.
So before jumping to any conclusions, we wanted to use what we gained from our ethnographic interviews and observations to to ideate and brainstorm and come up with a lot of ideas. So we came up with a lot of different ones, but then got them down to 4 main concepts. So we developed 2D prototypes for those, and our first one was based on feedback that a lot of people study in the library, and a lot of people like to relieve stress by working out or exercising. So we thought, what if we could combine these two and put an exercise room in the library or even a track around the outside of one of the floors. We got some feedback that it would be good if it was by the windows, but then that would take away study space by the windows, which a lot of people like to have. Additionally, people thought it would be distracting if people were going in with workout clothes or walking around a track, and it might just become Rolf's, which is already a need that's met, so it wasn't necessarily the best solution. Our next idea, as you can see in the video, people really like to have study guides or practice tests before an exam, and not all professors provide that. So we thought, what if we could make it mandatory? They have to go on to this website that's connected to ND Today or Sakai, and they have to upload materials. But some of the feedback we got was that's just more work for professors, and so you might not get their buy-in. And also the administration would likely be nervous about cheating, so the feasibility of that is probably relatively low. Our third idea, as you saw in the video again, a lot of feedback we got was that people like to study in groups or collaborate with their class members, but maybe you don't know anyone in your class, or the professor isn't holding a review session, so it's difficult to get together. So if there was an automatic reservation system where the rooms at DeBartolo would automatically be reserved before a test in one of your classes. Some of the feedback we got for that was that DeBartolo is usually out of the way for people when they're studying at night. A lot of people end up going to the library or are in their dorm, and you're not really on the DeBartolo side of campus at night. A lot of people also like to lay out all of their stuff on big tables. I know I like to do that, and DeBartolo isn't really a good space for that. And it would probably be hard to schedule. Those rooms aren't used for a lot of things. So our fourth idea was, it's kind of been a spoiler alert this whole time, with the title slide in the video, but the Beachbury. So this idea of a relaxation room in the library. The sun lamps and the ocean sounds got good feedback. We originally thought of having sand on the ground, but people thought, number one, I was a big fan of it, but the feedback wasn't there, so I let it go. But people thought it wouldn't be that feasible, and they didn't want sand like in their backpack and their clothes and stuff like that. So we were thinking more of a soft carpet, maybe heated floors. Also with the ocean sounds, some people said that they would want to have their own headphones in anyway. So we thought of maybe instead of just straight ocean sounds, there would be a few channels you could choose from. So whether you wanted ocean sounds or smooth jazz or whatever kind of music you like. And couches and recliners were preferred to beanbags. We also toyed around with the idea, we went back and forth about DeBartolo and the library for the relaxation room, but with the feedback from the other one, DeBartolo is usually out of the way for people. And also, as you can see on the front side of your appendix handout, one called the writing, there was a recent article in The Observer that they're making plans to renovate the library and planning to build more dorms near the library. So we thought that that would be more convenient and would be more feasible. So then, once we decided on this concept, we went into 3D prototyping.
So ultimately in our 3D prototype, we tried to build everything that we wanted in the inner resource room. We made a massage chair, sun lamps, ID swipe in, which we'll get into. This is a closet on this side. And we had people walk through and sit down, get the feel for what we were trying to get at with our relaxation room. And ultimately, our solution had 2 parts. The first was that our team that walked through wanted to know how they would be able to get into the resource room, or do they have to sign up, and what would be happening with that. And when we had talked about it with them, they thought having to sign up would just cause more stress, because what if they missed it? Would there be any repercussions for missing their scheduled appointment? So we decided to go with what is currently going on with the washers and dryers, where you can check to see if it's being used and how much time is actually left. So I'll get into that with the second part, and then it will list basic information about the room, where it is, how long it's open for, the rules such as no talking, no studying, no canoodling, and then it could link to St. Liam's website and give basic stress relief advice. And then ultimately, the room again, more feedback from our team was that people would feel uncomfortable fully relaxing if they could be seen by other people. So they were saying if I'm leaned back with my eyes closed and I happen to fall asleep, I don't want people to see me drooling in the chair. So we came up with this idea of sort of pods that are used in first class airlines right now. And ultimately, these chairs will be massage chairs with sun lamps facing you. As Annie touched on, a headphone jack with pre-programmed stations, such as, whale sounds, we talked about it too. Mood lighting and cool, relaxing color walls. This also came from our feedback from the library that people don't like studying in yellow rooms. Again, soft shag carpet. We thought that if you're leaning back, we could paint a mural on the ceiling or have the stars projected, just as a relaxing way. And ultimately, we didn't want people utilizing this as a napping space or just a quiet study space. So you'll have to swipe in with your ID and swipe the chair, and you get the chair for, say, half hour, and you only get 2 swipes a day, so that when other people come in, they can see that your chair isn't being used and be like, hey, I think you have to go now, it's my turn. So ultimately, we think the resource room would be great. We hope that this decreases pre-exam stress for students, and ultimately, we want this to possibly go into other buildings, like as we had discussed. We think this could also be great for DBART or Como. We have also done prior research, and in Michigan they have nap areas. So we think talking with other schools, seeing if they have any other forms of relaxation rooms that we could implement, we thought that that would be great. So with that, any questions?
So the process of getting to the beach brewery idea, how did you capture feedback from users, and what specific things led you to that being implemented?
Well, ultimately with our 2D prototypes, we have people take sticky notes and just talk us through like the positives and negatives. What you saw were like our hard copies, like the ones that we actually like brought to the people, so you didn't see like any of the notes or anything, but we actually just have like a huge packet of things. We also, when the team walked through our 3D prototype, we were writing down the comments and their questions, and so I think it was just like very one-on-one, people giving us their personal feedback.
It was interesting you said in the room that exists, the 2 things got high usage, everything else fell off. Were you able to use any of that information about it, what else they had in there to kind of design what you wanted to have, things that weren't really getting used?
Well, I think something that was in the resource room was like a waterfall, which I think people like that, like relaxing noise, and like we've all observed and talked about is that people like to listen to music, just like get away, which is why we put the channels. Like, I don't know if some people don't like water noises, some people prefer rainforest noises, I don't know, but in our final solution we thought that you should have the choice to listen to, but that definitely was inspired by the resource room.
The most used things that were in St. Liam's were what we put in our idea. So,
And in addition, some of the other tools required a little bit more explanation for someone who was really familiar with it. So that's why it's in St. Liam's where the counselors are available, such as the negative ion generator. And we wanted something that students could just feel easy. They can run in, they'll know how to use the stuff, and they can get out instead of making it a big process.
So do you guys think this will be implemented?
Fingers crossed.
We've done so many other recent renovations in the library. I don't see why this would be such a difficult thing to do, too.
yeah, they have plans, and they're really trying to open up the space and get it to be a more positive study atmosphere, which, like, based on the articles that we read and talking to some people. But I mean, this would be perfectly fitting in with the spirit of what they're trying to do right now. So,
Yeah, our person from the library was in the first hour of the first section. Listening to the state background sharing with you.
Thank you guys.
Awesome.
awesome. Thank you.